I had my beef bones soaking in cool water yesterday. I left them in the I drained them, left them in the refrigerator overnight. And this morning I just gave them one last rinse. I put them in cold water and they are starting to cook now. I can see my water already looks beautiful, nice and clear still. All that grime is gone. I'm gonna let them boil. Will simmer all day pretty much for many, many hours. Only adding water if necessary. Uh-oh, Judith. Okay, Judith probably wants to go outside. All right. So my short rib bones have just come to the boil. And this is very little scum in comparison to how it normally looks. Just keep it up here. Maybe this way. Yeah, that looks better. Normally this thing could be really foamy. This is the beauty of all that cleaning that we did. Not just to eliminate the this foaming, it's just all that brown particulate. It's that bone, loose bone and all of that, but that's very little. My stock underneath looks very clear. Oh, very nice, smells really good. I haven't added any seasoning whatsoever, not even salt. There's very little to skim, but I'll continue to skim it. I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit now that it's come to a boil. Oops. And then I'm going to just continue to watch my water levels skim. And I'll update you on it. Look at that, that's so pretty. You could just see how nice and clear that is already. And this is, you know, very bone and fat heavy, so that's a good sign. Oh, well, it's always shocking how quickly the day goes. So I strained all of my beef bones. My stock, beef bone stock was simmering for a little over 8 hours. It's close to 4 in the afternoon now. And I just have it covered with a little plastic wrap. Because the beef bones are very fatty, I could already see like the oil slick on top. I'm gonna let this come to room temperature on the counter. It's really, really hot, too hot to put in the refrigerator. And then I'm going to refrigerate it. In the morning, I'm going to take off all the fat, which is gonna have collected on top, and I'm gonna reserve that for cooking for another purpose. And then it'll be ready for my kimchi beef stew. So that's gonna be yummy. Good morning. It's just about 15-20 after 6. Here's my broth that I made yesterday, my beef bone broth, and here's the fat that came off of it. You see it's a lot. And you see how it's kind of in sheets. All I did was take one of my favorite tools, kind of break through it, and then lift it up in one clean sheet. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to put the fat away, and then I'm going to start trimming off my beef cubes, my stew, you know, my chuck beef stew meat. Start prepping that to brown a little bit and start getting that cooked and boiled so it can get tender. But, you know, like usual, we're just getting started. So I just wanted to show you how much fat came off of here. It's crazy. Okay. Here we go. Let's try to have a wonderful day. So my stewed beef is prepped. I took away any like miscellaneous sinew or fat that I didn't think I would need. And next I'm gonna prep my my giant Korean scallions. And here it is. It's really huge. It's about the size of a leek, maybe even bigger. And I already trimmed off the longest dried leaves. So I'm just gonna pull off all of this, cut the root end, cut it, and then let it soak in water, and then drain. And that's my next step for now. So right where like the onion becomes like a Y and then it sprouts out from the top, there's like this, like the joining part, and I don't use this. I mean, you could use it in a stock, but it's like very fibrous and it's not very good. Also, I got some of the tops and just slice them. I'm soaking them separately and reserving them for garnish. So this was what was inside that little Y joint. These are nice and tender little bits, but you know, you have to, this is where we get to go through our prep and check. It's just like a green onion, like has that kind of slimy bit about it. And then this looks good. I'm just going to cut this into, let's say like little strips. This is all going to cook down, so it should be able to fit on your spoon. I know some people cut these really big, and I don't see a point. It's not a very good eat, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. If you like to have big pieces of scallion in your food, the world is your oyster. But I'm gonna cut mine so that when it cooks down, it's nice, manageable pieces, and you're not just getting a big bite of scallion. So while I'm in the middle of my prep, I just turned out my beef stew chunks onto a paper towel, and then I'm going to remove them from the paper towel and just let them sit in the pan to continue to air dry a little bit, so that I can give them a preliminary saute with some aromatics before we start adding the stock to cook them. So I just wanted to show you this step. I don't want to keep them on the paper, is my point, because then the paper could start sticking and it happens very quickly. So I'm just gonna get them off and show you how they're just gonna sit exactly like this on the jelly roll pan, except without the absorbent towel underneath. Okay, remember the fat from the beef going in. So there's my beef. Don't overcrowd your pan. I'm not necessarily trying to get a really good brown on them. I'm just trying to develop some of the meat flavor. Because I just want to, you know, I don't want to turn them yet. I just kind of wanted to show you. It's not going to go much past that. A little bit, tiny bit browner than that. So I won't turn them. Once they like unstick on their own naturally, they're ready to turn. See, that one's still a little stuck. So that's it. I'm not going to film this process too much because I don't want to gunk up my phone. But I have about 3 or 4 rounds of this to go. And I'm going to show you when I put the aromatics in. So this is what the meat looks like. That was the last bit. The pan is just recovering its temperature. I'm going to show you the rest of the prep. Basic prep for now. There's always something. Okay, so for my basic prep, I have a good chunk of minced ginger, about, I would say 3 tablespoons, about half of a cup of diced onion, white onion. You can use whatever onion you want. About 2 heaping tablespoons of garlic. One of these pouches You can buy them or you can make it. It has seaweed, a little shrimp, and a little anchovy. 1 heaping rounded tablespoon of very good quality soybean paste. Easily a pint of very fermented kimchi. I had to add a little bit on the top because I didn't have as much as I needed. But this kimchi is at least 3 months old. And this giant thing, about 2 cups, so a pint of Korean green long scallion. All right, I hear my pot's ready for some of this to go in, so let's get back to the cooking. Okay, the first ingredient that went in was the onion. You see the meat juices, you have to be careful. I know that it looks appetizing, but these are the perfect amount of like brownness. All right, I can't stand this anymore. Anyway, I'm gonna add the ginger and the garlic and the soy next. Okay, what I was trying to say before the steam so rudely interrupted is that when you're trying to use fond, you don't want to, or like use the fond at the bottom of the pot, which is that browning. You have to know when is the right time to use it. Sometimes you think like, oh, you're leaving flavor in the pot, but oftentimes people don't know how to like develop the fond so it's not burned. So I would say if you're not experienced, it's fine to wash out the pot and start from scratch. With a recipe like this, there's going to be so much flavor infused into it that it won't be an issue, but that's just something to work on. Here, let me get a close-up. So what I've done is I've added the garlic, the ginger, the soybean paste, and now I'm just going to try to cook some of the rawness out. It is going to cook no matter what, but this is just a sort of a blooming of the spices, if you will. And this is an important step. Some people might say it's not necessary because you're going to cook it, but then it would be it would just be boiled, and we're trying to create dimensions and flavors and levels of flavor. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is add my meat back into this. Okay, the meat's back in. Now we're going to just kind of gently, this is on low heat, which is fine. I would have it at medium heat, but I just don't want my camera to steam. But this is fine. It's slow and gentle. No matter how low it is, it'll eventually do what you want it to do. Since I didn't marinate this, I didn't do anything to it, I don't want to toughen it. There's going to be a lot of salt with the soy. I have my mock demi going in a few. If you haven't seen that recipe, look up mock demi on my channel. I wish I knew how to link, but I don't. I'm just a cook. So, I can't stand the way that this does not show the true beauty of the color. What am I doing? Do I need auto color correction? Let's see if I brought it closer. Let's see. I don't know. It looks so much more luscious in person. But all right, I'm gonna let that, I'm gonna turn up the heat just a tiny little bit to kind of concentrate more of these juices. I don't want it too watery. So this is a stew, it's not a soup. So I want it to be nice and viscous. The reason a lot of people add like the rice water is because they want that rice starch to thicken. I don't really trust rice water like that. So I try to build my collagen and that nice viscosity through natural methods. Now, if you want to do that and you feel that that is the better traditional way, you can, or you could do it the long and hard way, like I'm doing. Okay, I'm gonna get my demi out of the fridge, and I'm also gonna get my Korean green scallion onion. Okay, this is how much I want it to reduce. You know, okay, I'm gonna add half of the quantity of the Korean green onion right now. That giant green onion. I'm gonna stage this, so I'm gonna add some now and some in a bit. Okay, and then incorporate. See how I want you to really build those flavors. You don't want it all watery and not flavorful. Keep doing this. The next step is going to be to add some of our short rib broth, bone broth that I made. And let that cook and start tenderizing the meat. And then we're going to start adding the kimchi, because this meat's going to take a while to tenderize, and the kimchi would be overcooked at that point. Now, if you have lots of kimchi juice, this would be a time to add that. I don't, but it won't matter anyways, because believe you me, it's going to get in there. And it's going to be wonderful. You see how nice and concentrated that is. So we're already building flavors. At this point, if you wanted to add more gochugaru, which is a Korean red pepper powder, you can. The kimchi already has it in it, so you know, you can start increasing the spiciness as you feel you want to. That's the beauty of cooking at home. You can do whatever you want with it. So like I said, I'm going to reserve half of the green onion, because this is just going to melt in. You can't even see the onions and the garlic anymore, or the ginger, which is good, because you just want it to be a beautiful, succulent, melt in your mouth sauce. All right, time to get the bone broth. Okay, the bone broth is in. The pot is quiet for now. I'm going to let this come to a boil, and I'm going to reduce it to a simmer. But in the meantime, I want to show you one little last thing about the bone broth. It smells so wonderful. This is going to be the most decadent, rich, melt in your mouth kimchi beef stew you've ever had in your life. Guaranteed. Oops, I forgot to mention, in goes my pouch. That's only going to be in there for about 10 minutes-ish. I'll know, because it will, I could tell you don't want it to sit in there too long. There's already some underlying anchovy and fish flavors and shrimp flavors in the kimchi. This is just going to boost it and give it more of that umami. But this is not going to stay in here very long, like I said. And we add it now because this is when the majority of the liquid is in here, and it really needs to rehydrate in order to do its job. So if you want, you could just put a little meat on it to kind of submerge it. It's fine. It'll work out. So that's it. There goes my seasoning pouch. And now I want to talk more about the beef broth stock. So this is what remained at the bottom of the bowl. Now, these are just like beef particulates and potentially some like little shards of bone and things. So I don't see, there's like still some broth left in here, but I didn't want to compromise my stew. So once I get to the point I could see it, and I pour it very carefully, and that's the beauty of doing it nice and cold and having these processes in place. So you don't want this. I mean, it's perfectly fine to put it on your dog's dry food or something like that, but you definitely don't want this in your stew. At least I don't. Now, if you do, have at it. But these are the little touches that are going to elevate and refine your dishes. And I don't know, this is just something I wanted to point out. I'm very careful not to add things like this into my food, because I want it to have a nice, clean, beautiful, mouth-watering, savory taste. And I think this muddles it, and it just degrades the product. Okay, my Stew has just come to a boil. I've turned the heat down, and now it's time to remove this pouch. So it's been in here probably 8 to 10 minutes. I didn't check the time. But that's it. It's a little bloated, not too much, enough to extract the amount of flavor I need for this broth. Right, I'm gonna cover and I'm gonna let simmer for about 45 minutes. Then we'll get into adding the kimchi part. My 45-minute timer went off and about 15 minutes ago, so we're at an hour. I checked my beef. It still needs time. It's looking good. It's reduced. You can see how much it's reduced. You can see how much it's reduced, like here. And I want this to get good and tender. I mean, at least close to being tender before I add my kimchi. And then at that point, I will adjust it for salt, for more hot flavor. But like I said, I don't want to toughen the meat or do anything weird until all this meat is nice and at least halfway tender. So I just wanted to give you an update. I'm gonna set another timer for another 45 minutes, and then I think we'll be ready to add the kimchi. So it's been 45 minutes and my meat is perfectly tender. Even at this point, it tastes really scrumptious and delicious. But now is when we start to really infuse. This is a garnish. I'm gonna reserve this. So now we're gonna add all of the kimchi. I'm gonna add the remaining Korean long scallion. I'm gonna add one Korean green chili. I will add this whole at some point closer to the end of the cooking process. I'm gonna refresh the garlic. It was about 6 cloves of garlic that I just put through my garlic press. 1 piece of ginger that I sort of cut like a Hasselback potato. I don't know if you could see it, but I'm gonna fish this out. I don't want that in there, but I do wanna refresh the garlic flavor. And I'm gonna add just about a tablespoon of mirin. And then once that's all in there, I'm gonna check to see, does it need more Korean pepper powder, gochugaru, or is it good? I'm also gonna add another special ingredient, and I might as well show you now. And here it is, dasida. It's like a dried beef Korean bouillon. You cannot substitute it with a, like, let's say like a nor or another flavor. It will change the flavor. I mean, you can if you want. This is a completely optional ingredient. I don't need it, and a lot of the times the reason we use it, not we, but people use it, is because they have not built those flavors. Like I said before at the beginning of this video, I boiled a short rib stock for, well, the LA rib stock, because it's thinner cut, for, you know, close to 10 hours yesterday. I strained it. I sauteed my aromatics in fat from that mixture. I also stewed my beef in it. I built my flavors. So this is just kind of a you know, a correction for chefs who are not doing it. I think it adds a nice flavor. I'm just gonna use this as my salt component. I have not salted my meat yet because all of this is going in. Look at all these wonderful ingredients. And this is where we start getting into the category of a really sophisticated dish. You do not need to add this. I recommend you do, but if it's not something that you want to do, then don't do it. Don't do it. If you did my method and did the bone stock broth and you've cleaned it and it's wonderful and you've got that meat and it's all tender and ready to go, it's absolutely not needed, because this is what this is intended for, is to give you something of a flavor. I just add it just to add, like they say, a kiss to a baby's cheek. It's just a little enhancer, but not needed. All right, I'm gonna get going with adding all this because it's already, I don't know, I wanna say 10:30 possibly in the morning. Well, let me check what time it is. Okay, it's only 10. But the thing is I have to start cutting my Korean daikon because I want to add it in with everything going on here. That's going to be the next addition. So other than this whole chili, which I'm going to reserve, every single thing is going in here, and 1 tablespoon of my mirin. So everything is in. I peeled and sliced a small Korean daikon. I cut them bigger because they can easily fall apart. And again, if I needed to add more, I could refresh it, but I'm not going to. This is my favorite part. Here I have that piece of ginger that I'm gonna pull out. I mean, I don't have to pull it out, but it's not for consumption. The dasida is in there. The Korean green chili, and now we're getting into where it starts becoming kimchi stew. See, if I took that hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours to tenderize that beef with the kimchi, it would be mush. This is, after all, it's just cabbage. So to maintain the integrity, the color, and the beauty of this is still gonna simmer a good long time. I don't know why, it's a rushed process, but I guess it's for you to know and me to find out, right? I never found a way to get around this process, because if you cook the meat together, unless you're using like a fillet or a really thin cut of meat, but how are you gonna develop all those wonderful thick flavors? Okay, at this point also, I'm gonna add about a half a cup of my demi. So actually it ended up being one full cup of demi. So again, if you haven't seen that video, this is an optional ingredient, but if you want to know what that is, you can see my video called mock demi. And it's just looking scrumptious. Now I don't have to worry about my veg disappearing, anything weird happening. All my radish is in here. Doesn't that just look luscious? Oh my God. This is my final meal that I would want to have in this life. If it's pork or kimchi or beef, I want to have a kimchi stew. If I was on death row, or something was like, this is your final meal, this would be it. No questions asked. This and a nice warm bowl of white rice. That's it. I would die happy, and I'm not being funny. This is my final meal request for sure. It's just the most wonderful, comforting, delicious, savory. It's everything. I could eat this. I mean, I've cooked this so many times, I don't even know how to begin. All right, I turned everything off, this pot off, because I realized that's what's been getting me all trying to do this hot thing, but it's getting really hot now. So I'm gonna turn it off. It's gonna come back to a boil. Well, just a simmer. I don't need to boil it at this point because, again, my meat is tender, but all this is just going to start getting together, marrying in flavors, and I'm gonna give it 20 minutes before I adjust seasoning to make sure that I don't need any more red pepper powder, gochugaru, or any other thing. So this is a wonderful moment. Everything's gonna start coming together, and then we'll see where we're at. All right, that's it. It's been about, so I started at 7. It's 5 to 11, so we'll call it 4 hours. Look at this beauty. My daikon is still a little firm. There's still gonna be a little cooking more because I'm going to show you what I'm gonna do. But before I add my next ingredient, which is just gonna be more fresh kimchi, I wanna talk about this important step, and that is the tofu. Nobody tells you like the tofu just goes in like last couple of minutes, but tofu is so bland. I'm using medium firm tofu, and I don't understand, why does it have to go in? I have never seen anybody talk about this subject. Why does the tofu have to go in all cold and sad? It'll break up, but it has no flavor. So what I like to do is I like to take some of the juices, and I like to let my tofu sit in this marination sauce, or like I like to call it, which is just the stew, to infuse, and I will add it to the top. Yeah, I know it looks cool, that white contrast, but I'm serving mine with white rice, and I like my tofu to have plenty of flavor. So this is a tip. Again, I've never seen anybody talk about this. I guess it's just the quick way. But so what I like to do again is just get some of this stewing juice and put it on my tofu and let my tofu marinate. I'm also going to add some sesame oil to not only the tofu, but to my stew. But before that, I'm gonna add that whole chili, and last but not least, refresh the kimchi, another about 2 cups. And you see, now we're talking. Now we are talking. I'm just gonna let this simmer for another 20 minutes. I'm gonna turn it off, and then it'll just be sitting here until dinner time. It needs, you know, hours to become its wonderful self. Normally I make this the day before we eat it, but regardless of, even if I try that, without fail, doesn't matter what the dinner is, if I start cooking my stews, everybody's gonna want that and we'll abandon the original dinner. So I make enough so we can have some for today and tomorrow. And this is how banchan is created, you know, the Korean side. So then we'll have stew. Then we have the japchae. We have the, you know, eventually make the squid, and then it just keeps rotating. The meal becomes a side, the meal becomes a side, and then you have a feast. All right, but I just really wanted to talk about the tofu part. I don't know what's happening in this world. Why do we have to have unmarinated sad tofu? Hold on. This is a little unsteady. Okay, I got you back. I got you back. Got you back, baby. See, it's just gonna marinate in all of these juices. Now, you don't want to aggressively boil it in your stew, which I understand because it will break up, which is also fine. I mean, everybody, you know, those little tofu chunks are wonderful. But if you want to maintain the integrity of the tofu shape, again, I'm using medium firm. Me and my husband are always arguing, do we want extra firm, medium firm? You choose the firmness of the tofu that you want. But this is a great solution to pre-marinating your tofu that's going to eventually go in your soup or stew. I haven't found a better solution. If there is one, well, I guess I don't have friends because I've never seen it anywhere or anybody talk about this process. I just see them layering in the restaurants and everywhere. They just layer that raw, cold tofu on the thing and then put the soup in there, and then it kind of gets, you know, cooked along the way. But tofu is so spongy and plain, I just think it needs this extra marination. So I'm going to cover my tofu. I'm going to turn the heat back on my stew. I'm going to turn the heat back on my stew. Hold up. Wait a minute. All right. Hold on. All right, my phone died. Haha. I took a little break anyways. So I'm going to add my sesame oil to my tofu. I'm going to go to the stove and add some sesame oil to my stew. Okay, I turned it off, hoping I wouldn't get as much steam. Look at this beauty. Lord. About a good tablespoon and a teaspoon. And just give it a little stir. I'm not gonna try to break that chili up, but it's gonna sit in here. And I'm gonna make my rice. No matter what I do, here it comes. I'm gonna make my rice. Oh man, that last bit of sesame. I can't wait to eat this. All right, this is super hot. I just splashed my wall. That's bad. All right, I'm gonna clean up my wall and I'm going to make my white rice, and then I'm gonna watch that old movie Geostorm. Saw that in the theaters. Oh, that was a fun movie. All right. And that's it. And then my last, not really last thing I'm gonna say is, even though I say 45 minutes or whatever, I'm checking it every, 15, 20 minutes. When you have a really like thick stew like this, you're setting yourself up for disaster if you don't come and stir it and check the bottom, scrape the bottom, check on it, make sure that your water levels aren't too low so that it starts drying up. But this is perfection. I don't care what y'all are talking about. This is the best kimchi beef stew that there is. Anybody want to challenge me on that? At least I think it is. But who knows? I'm probably just delusional. I may not be the best, but it's up there in the rankings. All right, I'm gonna tuck those guys in because I want them to continue to soften just a tiny little bit. I'm gonna close up shop here. I'm gonna make my rice in the rice cooker. Just follow your directions for Calrose rice. And then I'm kind of free for now, I think. Let me think, is there anything else I have to do? I just have to plate up my sides when my husband gets home and eat. Well, here it is, it's dinner time. This is my kimchi beef stew. It smells wonderful. I just garnished my marinating tofu that you guys remember, and a little bit of more gochugaru, Korean pepper powder, coarse. And just for sides, I have just some kimchi, some sweetened anchovies with peanuts, and some dry squid, and of course, just a little bit of seaweed. And then I have my husband set up over here with a spoon and some chopsticks if he wants it. So this is just all for him. I'm gonna place that here, and then we will invite him to eat. He does not like his food too hot, that's for sure. So look, isn't she a beauty? Okay, it's time for him to eat. I can't keep him waiting any longer. It's almost 8 p.m. He normally eats between 5 and 6. Okay, he's coming. I'm just gonna focus on this. All right, are you ready to eat?
Hell yeah.
All right, I was wondering today how many times I've made this meal for you. Can you figure out?
Well, I gotta say at least, I don't know, like,
Too many to count,
yeah, I was
right?
gonna say like 20. I don't know.
Robert, 20?
Like more, I don't know. I have no idea. It's like, this is a great meal.
Oh God, you don't know anything.
I don't.
All right, like all right, for 20 years.
Yeah.
How many times do we eat this? Well, I mean, not just the beef one. I'm talking about like pork too.
Kimchi stew. Oh.
Thank God you're not my well, you kind of are my co-host, but if I left it up to you, oops. Okay, I know you like all that tofu, right?
Yep. Love me some tofu. And this is what? This is the extra firm, or what was this one?
No, it was medium firm.
Medium firm. What do we
Giving you
normally
all
get?
this.
What do we normally get?
We always go through this. Sometimes we get medium firm, sometimes we get extra firm, but we never know. All right, it's hard to look through the camera. All right. Oh, thank God I caught this. This is a piece of ginger I don't want. Hold on. Let me put this to the side. You think you would have been happy biting into a big old piece of ginger?
Not really. Not big old piece.
Okay.
Let me try to get some juice.
All right. Excuse me.
Juice,
Hello.
juice.
Okay, I'm going to switch to my spoon now. I think that's enough for now, do you?
Yep, plenty. Shoot.
Okay. I'll put some of that back. All right, enjoy.
Thank you. This is exciting. Fantastic. Kimchi's good.
Mm-hmm. It's that aged kimchi that we've had for like 2 months. Well, what's your final? Your final. Can you give me one perfect bite before I go?
A couple more. I like these little guys. For me, it's double kimchi. Just a little slap of beef in there. And then just made a little roll.
Okay.
Little taco.
That looks good. All right. That's it. Enjoy your din. Well, this is how I'm going to pack my leftovers. I put the remaining broth and that whole chili in here. I forgot my garnish, which is fine. I'll garnish this tomorrow because this is going, if it's delicious today, tomorrow, you won't even know what to think or do about it. I'll tell you that. So this, you have to make more than you're gonna need for day one. This is so savory and delicious. And then there's my tofu, and that's it. Here's my garnish for tomorrow, so I won't even have to worry about garnish. Well, let's see what we get into tomorrow. I'm thinking about doing a pork cheese bomb, Korean pork cheese bomb with kimchi or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the spirit leads me to make tomorrow. All right. Well, good night. I'm going to try to get this up. I provided a bonus video about how I make triangle kimbap. If you want to see that, I'll post that as well tonight. And remember, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. So I hope you enjoyed this video.